Well, it's great to be able to share with you an encouraging word again today through the book of Proverbs. Before I do, can I just say we are missing you and loving you, and hopefully you feel the encouragement from the church. You matter to us, and we care for you deeply. I gotta be honest, I went through today to do my devotional, and as I started doing it, I noticed that we had done Proverbs 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then someone did 6, and someone had done 10. And so I just opened it and said, well, I'm not sure which one to do. I'll do 5 because no one did it. And I opened it up, and it says this. The subheading of chapter 5 is Warning Against Adultery. And my first thought was, yeah, that's encouraging. That's what I want to do, bring that morning message. And so I started looking through other ones, and Vonnie heard me. She said, why wouldn't you do it? And I said, well, I don't want to just talk about adultery. And she said, well, maybe with everything going on nowadays, people need to hear that too. And it was a little convicting, and when Vonnie speaks to me, I usually just listen, and she's pretty wise. So I started looking it over and thinking through things I've read recently about the struggles people have had with alcohol and drugs and our time and our attention and pornography and technology and in a sense adultery, right? Giving our hearts to something or somebody that it doesn't belong to. And I thought, wow, this could be a perfect chapter. Hard one, but a good one. And so I'm going to read it with you, some sections, and then move forward, and hopefully this will make some sense and maybe help us walk through some of these tough days together. The first part, 1 through 6, says, my son, pay attention to my wisdom. I love how it starts, right? Listen well to my words of insight, that you may maintain, I love this word, discretion, and your lips may preserve knowledge. For the lips of an adulteress drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as all gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths are crooked, but she knows it not. For years, I was a youth pastor, and I would teach our students through some different word pictures and metaphors. And I remember telling this one story of, imagine you get up for school, and you're walking down a path. Maybe for you it's work, and you're walking down a path to school, and all of a sudden you fall into a pothole, and you just fall way down. You get dirty and mucky and ucky, and so you get out, you're like, oh man, that's not good. And you go on, you're stinky, but you go on and you get to work and go home. Get cleaned up. The next day you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't probably do that again, and I have to be very cautious. I don't want to fall down that hole again. So you get up and you go down the same path, and you see this hole sitting there. And instead of dropping in it, because you saw it, you knew it was there this time, you walk around it, you kind of tiptoe around it, but in just going just right around it, you fall in. And then you get up and you're mucky, nucky, and disgusting again. You walk back and forth. And the next day you're thinking, I don't want to do this. You remember to yourself, I don't want to fall down that hole. So you get up and you walk down the same path, and you see the hole, you know what's coming, you're so cautious this time, and you walk around it, and you make it. And so you're thinking, I did it, and you keep going, and you're going to your school, your work, but then it hits your brain. I'm so glad I made it, but I'm still curious if that hole's still there. Does it look the same? And so they walk back, not to go fall in it, just to look to make sure it's still there. They look down the hole, and you know what happens? They fall in it. And so I tell the youth or whoever, how do you stop from falling in the same hole? You have to start taking different paths. And this is what the Proverbs, this is the wisdom starting to talk about. These paths are crooked, but she knows it not. And we can't take the same paths when we keep falling in the same holes. We need help. We need a different path. And then it starts in 7. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your best strength to others, and your years to one who is cruel. Stopping right there. Right behind me, there's 2 doors, right? And when I was a kid, I watched a game show called Let's Make a Deal. And I remember that when I'd watch this show, there'd be multiple doors. Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And the host would ask, do you want door number 1? And you would kind of work through that. And they would choose a door. And I want to think through these doors we're choosing today. Are they doors that are encouraging and uplifting and helpful? Or are they doors that are leading to places that we shouldn't be going? And you said, Chad, you said there's 2 doors. I only see 1. Well, see, this is one door we're used to, and the word of door, and we get it. There's a doorknob, there's a door. But right next to me, on my right, is a door as well. It's a doorway into a world that can be helpful, but can also be very damaging. Our fingers begin to type, and things open up, and we begin to go down paths that we should or should not go down. In fact, it can be in our own homes, and there's adultery going on, just literally adultery, or maybe our hearts are being given to something else that shouldn't be given to. Maybe it's a pornography issue, or maybe it's just we're consumed with the technology and we're not even noticing our family. I'm not sure what it is for you, but are you giving your heart to something or somebody you shouldn't be? And I got to tell you, part of my goal as a family pastor is caring for the family, caring for marriages, caring for people, caring for singles. I'm not sure where you're at right now in this day that just consumes us, and we have anxiety and fear and nervousness, and we're turning to something that fills a hole that really only God can fill. And this is this wisdom book on adultery. So in verse 5, chapter 21, it ends like this: for a man's or a person's ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all his or her paths. The evil deeds of a wicked person ensnares them. The cords of their sin hold them fast. You ever did that game where you had someone just put a band around it, you can see if you break it, and you wrap another yarn or something to see if you can break it? I remember doing that as well in a youth group one time, and I wrapped it 1 or 2 times, and some big guy, he kind of ruined it, but he snapped it. So I said, hold on. I did it like 8 or 9 times, and I just banded those arms together. And sooner or later, when there's enough coil around the arms, even the strongest people cannot break it. And I tell you, we'd be careful what doors we're finding ourselves walking into. So today, I want to encourage you to think through the instructions, the wisdom of not just Solomon, but the Word of God that leads us to the doors of righteousness, that leads us to doors of peace and mercy and graciousness. Be careful we're not opening up doors into a world that God says, don't give your heart, don't give your time. And I pray for you. If you're struggling in these areas, we have ways and people that want to help you. We want to be praying for you and give you actual, tangible ways of getting out of those hurts as well. So God bless you. I know it's a really encouraging one today, but I think it's an important one. And I hope we can encourage you through our words of wisdom. God bless you.